For the last 2 weeks, I've experimented with like slow eccentric training. So all my lifts, even deadlifts, bench press, dumbbell bench press, dips, barbell back rows, I've done with slowing the weight myself. So rather than basically letting the weight be heavy and I'm sort of being slow, so I've manually myself made the weight slow just to get a more full range of motion and also to make sure the muscle is being worked thoroughly. And I've learned a few things and some things have come to light. Let's have a chat. So initially, the reason why I gravitated towards this was on paper, it sounded like a fantastic idea, right? Lower the weight slightly, not because the weight was getting too heavy or anything, just have the weight slightly lower and then work through each inch of your muscle fibers, make sure you get the full contraction and squeeze. And by training like that, I quickly realized it was impacting something very, very important. And here's why that's a big deal. So by slowing down the eccentric and focusing more on my form, I quickly realized that I had to drop the weight considerably. And so my exercises, number one, weren't that enjoyable for me because I was constantly thinking about how it feels rather than the exercise itself. The fun element was taken away for me at least, and how extremely distracting it was to actually count as well while I'm doing it to make sure I'm slowing the rep speed enough. And while I'm doing it, I'm thinking about how my form will go going forward. How will it be? Like if it was time for me to progress, whereas before, if I hit a certain amount of reps, I would progress. How am I going to standardize this? How am I going to know it's time for me to go up if I'm so strict with my form and I'm slowing down the eccentric so much? I guess you could say the muscle gain will then show, which automatically will make you a bit stronger. But what will be that trigger for me to push to get to that next level? Which made me question, and which is why I'm making this video here. Does the rep speed, time and attention, whatever you want to call it, controlling the eccentric, is it really that important? Now, this is all from my experience. While I was training like this, the one thing that sprung to my mind was, hang on a minute, the most important thing, I believe personally, is weight on the bar, as well as how many reps you can move it for, and is it more so than it was the previous week, the week before that, the year before that, the month before that. So why am I now considerably dropping the load to focus on the way it feels, where a bigger component for muscle gain rather than the set quality in terms of like how you feel under tension? Why am I sacrificing the weight loading on the bar, which arguably holds a higher importance in a scale of what needs to be done to gain muscle? I would probably say nutrition needs to be really, really good, of course, protein amounts, and then quality hard training with a good amount of weight on the bar. And then where would this place into that for me? For me, I was thinking, if I'm going to prioritize the way it feels, time and attention, I'm having to sacrifice considerably a bigger factor for muscle gain, which would be weight on the bar. And for me, it just felt a bit of a hindrance for that reason. Like my heart wasn't in it. I suppose people have great results from training different ways and it works for them. But just talking about my experience anyway, I'm not an expert. But for me, I rate very highly the weight on the bar, set quality, good form of course, and pushing yourself very, very hard. And then of course, calling it a day, having your rest days and implementing good nutrition and everything. I'm a big advocate for that. So this for me was, I was constantly second guessing myself and then focusing on doing a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and then sort of squeezing through the motion, and then at the same time doubting myself, saying how am I now going to go push forward and going forward in the next year or 2 years, what is this training going to look like? Having said that, this is the interesting part. So what I found was, if you load the bar with a good amount of weight, so let's say you're doing 6 reps. If you load the bar that is sufficient for 6 reps for your amount of strength, the eccentric will take care of itself. If the weight is heavy enough and you're focused on good form, if you focus on good form, the weight will automatically come down slow because you can't slam it down, you'd get injured, you can't really throw it down because you won't be able to bring it back up. So naturally what happens is the weight is heavy and you're thinking form and intensity first, the reps will automatically slow down. So let me give you an example. If you're doing a bench press, a dumbbell bench press, and your max is 50 kilogram dumbbells, if you're doing 30 to get a focus on squeeze, you're obviously going to have to manually slow it down, and then you've dropped the loading like we talked about. And on the flip side, if you then go closer to your 1 rep max, so let's say 50 is your 1 rep max, and now you're doing 40 kilograms, to keep it stable, to get good form, and your prescribed number of reps, which we said was 6 for example, the the dumbbells will automatically go down slow because you're trying to control everything. It won't be as slow as you manually would do it, but then now look on the other side. You're lifting 10 to 20 kilograms more for the same amount of reps, and the eccentric is slightly slower, right? Because you're not slamming it down. However, how much do you guys think it would make a difference if you were to bring the dumbbell down 2 seconds faster than you would if you were to drop 10 kilograms on the weight itself and just sort of doing it yourself? You see, I'd take a 2 second faster eccentric, or 1 to 2 seconds faster eccentric, but my muscles have been loaded with a higher weight. To wrap it up, basically, it would be probably slightly less sensible to go that route where you're saying, you know what, I'm going to drop the weight and improve my form and I'll get more muscle growth out of it. I personally don't believe that's how you'd put tissue on. However, of course, there's probably experts out there that will be able to guide you a bit better, but from my experience, that's what I found. Training quality for me dropped. I wasn't feeling as much fun, which is quite important, I think, while you're training as well. And it just seemed counterproductive. The main thing people say for hypertrophy is tension on the muscle, and that's not to do with time, it's just how much stress the muscles go through. So I personally believe a higher weight would give a better quality stimulus for that. And thank you guys for tuning in. The journey's still on, the bulk is still going. If you found this helpful or informative, do give it a thumbs up, and if you like this video, do subscribe. We've got quite a lot of stuff coming in. Thank you so much. Peace out.